Hello, Greg from Balloon Market here, and welcome to BMTV. Well, this week we are joined once again by the wonderful Sue Bowler. Sue, thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. Now, this week Sue is going to show us something for Valentine's Day. Now, it's a retail design, isn't it? Or something that can be delivered. So something, you describe it as simple. It's
a very simple, pretty cost-effective way of making an air-filled design.
Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, over to you, Sue.
So what we're going to do is we're going to use a product called the Maxi Cup 2, which is quite a large cup that we can use to put our balloons onto. And we're going to use the stick that goes with it. So that's generally something we would use for an air-filled balloon that we can sell that way, but we're going to use it for a centerpiece styly base.
Okay.
So the first thing, I've actually prepared this because I'll explain what goes on here. So if you actually look at this, this is the cup and stick, so it's upside down, which is absolutely perfect. But to make sure you can stick the plastic to a tile, this is just a very basic tile that you'll get from any DIY shop.
Yeah.
We're going to use a glue that some people may not have heard of before. It's actually called Gorilla Glue, and it actually will allow you to bond different materials together. And it's very simple to use. It actually tells you on the back. What you have to do is you just dampen the surface of the tile.
Okay.
I just wipe mine with like a damp cloth. Then you're going to put a small amount of glue on the edge of the cup. Then you're going to stick it onto the base, but then you need to grip it. So what I did to grip it into position is I actually used some stretchy balloon tape, and you'll just see that there's 4 pieces over there. Leave it for 24 hours. I know it's preparation, but if you leave it for 24 hours, you'll find that it's absolutely rock solid, and that nothing's going to take that apart.
I've never heard of Gorilla Glue before. Okay.
It's really good. So you've got a really good secure base.
Yeah.
Obviously you've got to decide where this is being used, because you know this is a tile, and if you feel that it could damage a surface that it's going onto, you could just put some felt, felt feet onto it that will just protect any surfaces. So you've got to consider, you know, where it's going to go. But
you can get those tabs at your local Morrison's. Our local Morrison's, I saw them hanging up the other day.
Yep. So very, very simple. We're going to create a design, as we said, for Valentine's Day, and so we've got a fabulous selection of balloons that we can use, and I've just put a few here. You've got everything from this beautiful bubble. That bubble is actually probably a little bit too big for this design, because if you consider proportion and the height of this, really to use a bubble, on a sort of an air-filled base, you've got to be looking at about 30 inches, 31 inches.
Okay.
So this is quite significantly smaller. So it suits a foil balloon really very well.
Yeah.
So we've got something like this, which is absolutely beautiful. Obviously it brings in, you know, you've got the black, which is very dramatic, the roses, which are very significant to Valentine's Day, and just a lovely script. So it's sort of modern, but with a classic twist onto it. Then you've got very beautiful, very soft, just very pretty, love, just very simple, lots of the mixture of the pink and the red, which I really like, with a tiny little bit of black in it. If for somebody who doesn't really want to go wild about the reds and the roses and everything else, this one I think is superb for Valentine's Day.
Nice.
Just really, really subtle, white with the gold. You've got that glitter print in there.
Glittery gold, very
trendy, very, very trendy. So you know you've got, so really what you've got to remember is that you've got to appeal to a wide audience, and so by having a good selection of Valentine's balloons, it's going to work very well. So I'm going to use a different one altogether. I've got it prepared here because it's air-filled. I didn't want to leave it around. So this is just quite fun. You've got that Paris vibe in there. You've got the modern. You've got the stripes. You've got the hearts, and you've got some good things going on here. So you know, you've got to be careful when you select your colours. I mean, if you look in here, as I said, you've got the red and the black, which are very obvious. You've got a tiny little bit of blush going on in here, and a tiny bit of sort of silver, sort of graphite silver. So I'm just going to work with the 2 colours. I'm just going to take the red and the black.
So you talked about design and size, and that's part of Is it called Elements?
Elements and Principles of Design.
Mark talks about that all the time.
Absolutely.
And I always forget about it. So
it's so important for a designer in lots of industries, not just in the balloon industry, in the floristry industry, interior designers. So many people need to understand the elements and principles. Otherwise, we can make such fundamental errors with our designs because we don't get them right.
So one of those principles is sizing.
Definitely. Proportion is where we're thinking about the design in scale, in proportion to the overall design. Scale, which is what it gets related to, is the environment that it's in. So for example, if we were to put a tiny design into a venue that's got a really high ceiling, it wouldn't have the right scale within the room. So we would use 3-foot balloons, but equally we wouldn't use 3-foot balloons in here because obviously we've got a very low ceiling, so it would look completely
So that's
wrong.
to do more with the environment. The scale is to do with the environment.
So proportion is with the elements within the design and how it fits into what we're doing. Okay, so what I wanted to do is, because I'm using a clear maxi stick, I wanted to bring some of the colour into that because it just helps the visual line. And it's a very simple procedure. You could use tape for this. I'm just going to use a little glue dot, and at the top of my stick I'm just going to position one of my glue dots, and I'll do the same at the bottom, like so. Nobody's going to see them, they'll get hidden by balloons.
So what are you doing this for?
Well, I'm going to take some ribbon.
Okay.
And this is one opportunity we can use metallic ribbon, because we don't recommend that people use metallic ribbon with helium-filled balloons because it can conduct electricity.
Okay.
And therefore cause a problem. So we do love metallic ribbon in our designs, but we need to make sure it's just with air filled.
How does that cause a problem?
Well, for example, if you had a metallic ribbon attached to a metallic balloon like this, and it was to touch a power line,
oh, I see, okay,
it would cause an electric shock and it could kill you.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, that would be a problem.
Yeah. So, for example, I do know that in Hong Kong, they have banned all foil balloons on their metro system for that very reason.
Okay.
But you know, there are different rules in different countries around the world for different things, and that's one of them. So this is a really easy, simple procedure where we just take our ribbon and we're just going to twist it just nicely around the straw. Just adds a bit of fun to it. Very simple to do. Takes a few minutes to do it, but definitely worth the effort.
That's a nice effect.
There we go. Just get down to our glue dot down there, so it just stays once we've got there.
You did that very evenly.
You can tell I've done it before, huh?
Yeah.
And if we wanted to, we could actually take the black through it too. So, you know, we can really add an effect. So we'll have a quick look, see if we like it. If we like it, we'll keep it. If not, we'll just take it off. Might take a little bit longer because we want to make sure that we don't overlap. This was just a last minute decision by me. Shall I use black and red? That's the trouble, you know, us designers. We're always, what do you think? Yeah, I like that.
You didn't give me a chance to answer.
What do you think?
I like that.
Oh, good. I'm glad about that because I'm not changing it.
Okay.
Okay, so just going to take that out. You know, and the great thing about doing a design like this, particularly because it's all air-filled, you know, for Valentine's Day, we always recommend that you choose like a set number of pieces. Don't offer the customers the world because therefore you've got so many different options to do. So you can do like a design like this, obviously with multiple different balloons. It doesn't matter which balloons you use. And you can have all these bases already prepared. You could have them already ribboned up, and then you literally just finish them off when you actually go to make the design.
It's a bit like Gordon Ramsay, isn't it? He goes into these restaurants and basically cuts half of the menu and say you don't need to offer that many things, offer half that amount and just do it really, really well.
And you know, if you have something like this and you put it on display for your customers to see them as they're coming in and out of the shop, they're going to pick up on them very, very quickly. So they're really very easy, you know, easy to sell.
Okay.
All right, so we've just prepared, obviously we're doing this for Valentine's Day, but this could be done for a birthday or for a wedding or anything like that. And I'm just going to keep this design very, very simple. We're just going to start off by taking 2 duplets of 5-inch black balloons inflated to about 4.5 inches. We're putting black at the base. Why?
You tell me.
Okay. because visually black is the heavier of the two colours.
That's what I was going to say. So
we're talking about visual balance.
Okay.
So when we're working with different colours, we try and choose the darkest colour to the base.
Okay,
all right?
Good tip.
So we're going to take that first, and we're just going to pop that onto our bottom bit. Now obviously, because you've got that little cup there, you're going to have to make sure that those two balloons sit nicely over it.
Okay.
But when we take the next cluster and put it on top, it will actually hold it neatly in place.
Okay.
Because our base is square, I'm using 4 balloons rather than 5 because I want to emulate the same shape, and obviously I want them to sit into the same position.
So if that was round, you'd use 5 balloons?
I prefer to do that. And obviously, you know, if you're putting this design, say it's for a table centerpiece, if you were going to put it onto a square table, then a square base looks better than a round base. So, you know, you have to know the place that you're going to be putting the design as well.
That's about asking questions, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you've got to, it's knowing what's going on. Yes, definitely finding out the information and delivering to your customer something that they probably wouldn't have considered, but when they see it, they'll understand and obviously be very appreciative of your expertise and your advice.
And attention to detail.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to take 2 duplets of 5-inch red. You can see they're very underinflated. These are 3 inches. Again, we just don't want them to be too big because it would look too heavy and bulky. This, as I said, it's nice and neat. We'll just take the first duplet and position it on one side of the straw and the other one on the other side. Now you have to remember that this is a straw. It's not a secure, rigid pole. It's not like a loamy pole and base, or it's not dowel. So it has got flexibility. It does work very well for this, but you know, you have to understand that there's going to be a bit of movement in there. And when we come to put the top on, it might need a little bit of working on just to get it right. I find it easier if I now slip an uninflated 5-inch balloon on here because it creates the same grip. It's latex on latex, and latex on latex will hold together. When you try and, here it's fine because we've got gravity and we're pushing down, but here we want it to sit nicely on the top. So if we put a latex balloon over the top, it means that when we go to add our balloons on here, it's got something to grip onto. So it's always, for me, it's always the better option. Now,
so you don't attach that on there or anything?
No, because once we put the balloons on there, it will just hold it nicely in position. So for the top, we are going to use black again because I want it to be, I've got the visual weight at the bottom, but I also want it to be visually balanced.
All right. So
to visually balance it, I need to repeat what I've done at the base, but flip it. So we're going to go black, red, red, black.
Yeah.
And then our sort of focal balloon, which is the one that I've already inflated, will just balance it all out nicely.
Okay.
So I've taken 5-inch black, I've inflated it to about 4 inches. I'm just going to twist those into a cluster of 4. I'm going to take my red, again they're 3 inches, so they're the same size. So they're smaller, but these are the same.
Yeah.
So that works fine. So we're talking about, you know, the sort of a bit of graduation.
So if you were to do them that size, that would be too big?
It would be, again, visually unbalanced. It would create the illusion that it was top heavy and it would fall over.
Okay.
So it's all about creating illusions of like visual weight. So we've got what's known as visual balance and actual balance. So actual balance would be if this wasn't a very heavy base, the fact is it could fall over. So we have to constantly be looking at all those things. So I'm going to take this cluster, I'm going to position it on top of this one, and so I'm going to make this into its double cluster before I add it, which I wouldn't normally do, but because this is so wobbly, it's easier to do it this way. So I pull the neck of one of the 5-inch through, and just going to twist that on in a figure of 8. And so we've got a nice, very, very secure cluster. So all I need to do now is pull that on to my straw, making sure that that top cluster of balloons, like if you see there, is just sitting at the top. You don't want the straw to protrude over the top, because if we do that, this balloon won't sit. It will just fall apart or fall over, it just wobble around. So I'm going to put that in. If you want to just hold that for me for a second, that'd be great. And then I'm just going to twist those 2. And that means now I've locked it onto the straw. Fabulous.
So just the 2 black balloons?
2 of the black balloons where it's been fed through. And this is now where I've just got to do just a little bit of altering just to make sure we're going to get that right. So I just want to make sure that's sitting straight. If you're concerned, I could see this one here, this cluster here. I could twist that one as well. And that's really, if you feel how tight that is onto the straw now, that's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I could actually lift it up, because that's the worst thing. Somebody picks it up and it all falls apart.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you just have a play with that until you get...
Yeah, until you're happy
with it.
How it's sitting. Just make sure that's sitting nice and central. Okay, and then I want to make sure that the top is flat and that the balloon, when I put it on top, is not going to wobble. So now all I'm going to do is take my air-filled foil, which is great. So again, you haven't got the cost of the helium, and you've got more, the longevity of this. So this is a great one to put on display. I've just rolled the neck and tied it up with a 260Q. I'm just going to pull that into the centre, gently pull that through, give that a little wrap through, like so, just to make sure it's not going to go anywhere on me. And again, I'm just going to just adjust that until it's nicely positioned. There you go.
And of course, that's easily transportable as well. So if you are delivering, or if somebody's collecting from you, that's easy to.
It's a great. I mean, if you're offering this as a delivery, it's a lovely piece. It's a nice size to deliver.
Yeah.
It can be. I mean, most people like the element of surprise for Valentine's Day, where it gets delivered to an office and it gets put on somebody's desk. And for this one, it's great. It can literally go in, be nicely delivered, handed over to its recipient, and then you've got that lovely embarrassment factor of having that sitting next to you all day. But the wow factor and the envy factor as well from all your colleagues, because they all wish that they'd got one.
Yeah. Sue, thank you so much for
My
that.
pleasure.
That's very simple, but very, very effective. No. And it doesn't cost that much, as you say. It's air-filled and just a few balloons.
Absolutely, and just really nice. It's just a really nice, simple way to present your foil balloons, but without helium.
That's great. Thank you so much. Pleasure. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.